been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I'll slow down, standing in the pouring rain.
What's going on, guys? Tony here with the One Hell of a Life podcast. And yeah, Tristan's absent tonight, but he's busy video editing on our new series, One Hell of a Duck Season. And Tristan, I wish you the best because I can't do that stuff. But super excited, you guys. Returning guest multiple times. And we've got Mr. Ramsey Russell on the podcast tonight. Mr. Russell, thank you for so much for taking time out of your
Tony,
night.
glad to be here, man. I'm glad to be here. Thank y'all for having me again.
Yes, sir. I mean, I know you're a busy guy, and we're doing this a little bit later in the evening, and I really super appreciate taking the time out tonight.
No, you betcha, man. I'm glad to be here. Really am.
Yes, sir. Now, if you guys don't know much about Mr. Russell, this guy, I don't know anybody that's more addicted to ducks, to be quite honest with you. And Ramsey, if you don't mind, just for folks that don't know you, just tell them a little bit about yourself and how you got into the industry and just a little bit of background, if you don't mind.
Yeah, first off, Mr. Russell was my daddy. My name's Ramsey. And
10-4.
if you call my number that's all over the world, I'm going to be the guy that answers. I don't have a secretary working for us, but about nearly 25 years ago, not quite that long, we went on a real bad hunt. I always wanted to go to Canada and shoot migrator Canadas, cacklers, things of that nature, and booked a really bad trip. And the rest, as they say, is history. I ended up leaving a federal government career halfway to retirement, which was about a year ago. And now that I think about it, I'd be getting close to retirement. But I left and went to work for myself. My wife's a partner of mine with GetDucks.com and by extension US Hunt List and our Duck Season Somewhere podcast, because it is duck season somewhere. That's our motto. It's duck season somewhere. 365 days a year. If a man's not scared to jump on a plane, he can land in duck season. That's been the craziest thing. And I do love to duck hunt. I really do. I did love to duck hunt, but it's funny how when you duck hunt so much of your life, and I can tell you this, that Sunday morning was the 100th duck hunt since June 1st, 2024. This past Sunday.
Goodness
and
gracious.
So the Sunday after Thanksgiving was the 100th duck hunt since June 1st of this year, and I do love it. But Tony, it's not loving it the same way that I loved it 20 years ago or 25 years ago or even 10 years ago. It's really taken on a new interest, which is really and truly more of an experience collector. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean experiences like Pakistan, because Pakistan was an amazing experience. Mongolia or Azerbaijan or Argentina or golly, I've literally been from the Northern Territories clear down to Tasmania over in the wonderful country of Australia. But really and truly, it's amazing. Even though the world is so much bigger than our backyards, it's crazy how just to go to camp year to year or hunt to hunt is an adventure in and of itself, and that's what I'm into. I left home this September 13th, went to camp, teal hunted, drove down to Texas, and I like to go down to Texas and chase those blue wings, and then sometime around the 20th of September every year, I point the truck north and drive all the way up into Saskatchewan, and I join some friends of mine who live in Nova Scotia. And it's crazy when you think that they're from Canada and I'm from Mississippi, and they're way further from Saskatchewan than I am. Mm-hmm. But we meet up there and we freelance and chase snow geese. I really, really, really love to hunt snow geese.
Oh, we're going to talk about that then.
We will. I love it. And, but and then I swept along and I ended up getting home the Saturday before Thanksgiving. So I was gone a good long run.
Mm-hmm.
And that North American tour, I do meet with some outfitters we've got relationships with, but that's where the rubber hits the pavement when I start talking experience collector, because back during the pandemic, when we were sheltered in place like a bunch of cavemen,
Yeah.
it all I had to do was clean my closet and clean my office and work and just kind of pill around the house. And I did all that and got bored and rebuilt our webpage and did some stuff like started a podcast. But when I started taking inventory of all the places I'd hunted, just pursuant to doing like everybody listening does, just trying to live a hell of a life.
Mm-hmm.
I'd hunted about 30, 31 or 32 states. And I started looking at it and thinking, man, I ought to jump out and hunt all the states,
Yeah.
or hunt more of the states. Because I'm gonna tell y'all right now, the world is a big, beautiful place outside of, I just named off a lot of places around the world we've been, but God dog, man, there ain't nobody else on earth that has the number of species or subspecies of ducks and geese and swans and all the different little nuances, the flooded timber, rivers, oceans, mountains. I mean, we've got it all right here, and there's so much. And so I just thought I'd seen and done it all, until I really started doing a deep dive into right here in the United States. And this past fall, this past road trip, I had 2 states left to hunt, and that was West Virginia and Virginia. And no offense to all 12 or 20 or 30 duck hunters in West Virginia, but I recorded my host. He and I got to know each other real well. We had a great time. It was an amazing hunt. It was everything I wanted it to be. But man, West Virginia ain't known for duck hunting because there ain't many ducks there to hunt.
It's not very flat.
No, it's anything but flat.
Yes, sir.
And I never will forget the first morning.
Duck hunters, y'all need to check out Williamson Outfitters down on the Florida Panhandle this season. They offer some of the best coastal duck hunting and inshore fishing east of the Mississippi, targeting species like redheads, bluebills, buffleheads, and canvasbacks, just to name a few. From the cast and blast packages for those who love to fish and hunt, to adrenaline-pumping layout boat hunts that get you up close and personal, Williamson Outfitters has it all. And when the day's done, unwind in comfort at one of the 2 amazing lodges designed to make you feel right at home after a successful day out on the water. Mention the One Hell of a Life podcast when booking and get 10% off your booking. Spots are filling up fast, so call or text Captain Chris today at 850-251-8650 or visit www.floridaducks.com.
The first morning we went out, and we weren't expecting much. We set some geese up on the soccer field where somebody had seen some geese, and I think they saw 10 or 15 geese.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, let's go sit on the river, and right down below us, right there. You could hear it running. Let's go sit on the bank, wait. And what struck me as so weird is all the hunts I've been on, all the places in the world, what just struck me is as we got quiet and I was sitting on the bank, we pitched the decoys and got everything ready. And it was a beautiful, God, what a beautiful river. And I believe it was the South Fork Potomac River we were hunting.
Mm-hmm.
He looked one way and I looked the other. And he had asked a question, said, how do you feel about shooting merganders? And I shrugged and said, well, I'd rather not shoot a mergander, but that counts,
Right.
to check the box. And so I'm looking up the river because, merganders don't just come work around and fly. They come in like a foot off the water and haul an ass.
Yep.
And he's looking one way, but what struck me, the sun's coming up, it's glowing on the mountains, it's full fall foliage. It's a beautiful river, but what just struck me relative to anywhere I've ever hunted is it was completely and utterly devoid of any waterfowl. There wasn't anything. There wasn't a honk a mile away or a quack off in the dark. There wasn't birds trading around anywhere. It was just
Isolation.
Well, it was void of waterfowl completely, which was real. Like you just kind of figured, man, here a wood duck come fly around down the creek bank, right? I mean, or something.
Sure.
No, nothing.
Mm.
And so we're sitting there, and about 30 minutes go by, 45 minutes go by. And I'm starting to think, man, I'm glad I got 3 day schedule for this. This is going to be tougher than I thought, you know what I mean? And the boy that was with us, a teenager from there. Now look, this is like Western Virginia, Appalachia, West Virginia, Mountain Rama, that whole deal.
Yeah.
You know, and so he gets to telling this story. This boy gets to telling this story about a friend of his. Him and his girlfriend, little high school kid, was out kicking rocks or boards, and a rattlesnake comes out, and she grabs it. And I got my hearing in, but I got the volume turned down, and I'm sitting there cocking my head, trying to listen. Got my head listening to this story. This girl picks up, and only in Appalachia, man, where that reminded me of like snake handling preacher type stories you hear, in that part of the world.
Yeah.
And just picks this thing up and gets bit.
Holy cow.
And so I turned my head to listen more attuned to this story about this high school girl picking up a 5-foot rattlesnake and getting bit.
Goodness.
And about the time, whoop, there goes my freaking. And up and they've covered that 200 yards I've been watching upriver. I turned my head, and they're right in front of me. Wham! I shoot. I thought I missed, and I started cussing, and boom, he fell out.
Oh, shoot.
A damn common mergander. Not even a pretty one, just a brown-headed common mergander. I'm like, well, we got him. And I look at my watch, it's 7:30 or something. I'm thinking, well, I guess that counts, and there directly, 20 minutes later, here comes another flock. Buddy, I saw them coming, and I was ready. And so right about the time I'm sitting on 3, whatever the limit was of merganders, and I'm sitting there thinking, well, this is it. I guess check the box. I killed a merganser in West Virginia. That counts.
Right.
That's better than nothing.
That's right.
And, they got Virginia and West Virginia both have a real weird, to me, for my schedule, a funny timing in their split. It's like the best time for me to go up there and hunt with them would be between Thanksgiving and Christmas right now. Well, they're closed. So I had to squeeze this in and craft my tour this year to get there early, the early split. And they all wanted me to come later, but I can't come later because of conventions and everything else going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, okay, well, I got it. I'll be doggone. It's right about time we're starting to talk about breakfast. A dang lone greenhead don't come by.
No, you kidding me?
Now I'm like, all right, man, this is legit. Check the box. I went to Vermont for 3 days. Vermont, and they're there early years ago, and pulled the trigger twice, bam, bam. And missed the double and picked up a greenhead on the last morning and said, okay, that counts. I killed a bird in Vermont.
Yep.
And a mallard. And so we ate breakfast and went way up into the mountain. Son, I mean, it don't make sense. I mean, think about this. Think about this, Tony. Water runs downhill and collects on the lowest places in the topography. And universally, that's kind of sort of where you go. We spend a lot of our lives on the lowest places on earth where water collects.
Right.
And here we are going up the mountains to about 1,600 foot elevation, I think my phone told me, and to a big old lake, big old dammed up lake. And he said he had seen an old squaw, a green-winged teal, and a wood duck. So we get up there and we park and we start glassing, and I don't see nothing. We glass and we glass and we glass and we don't see nothing. So we pull out a Google Earth and look at it. I say, man, let's walk on up that logging trail and just see what it looks like up in the upper reaches. And we walk about a mile down this trail and kind of cut over towards the lake again. And man, that was a pain in the butt. I wish I'd brought boots instead of Crocs for this part of it. because it was a mess walking through all them rocks and stuff, getting through them woods. But anyway, we get to the water's edge, and what explodes with about a dozen ducks, 8 mallards and 4 black ducks. I'm like, oh boy, I know where we need to come tomorrow morning. Oh yeah. And man, we watched them mill around and do their things, and the way the wind was blowing and everything was going up, son, we knew just what we're doing. We went and loaded a little old bitty 2-man boat. We got the decoys, we got the mojos, we got everything in plan. We got up early. We got up way early, went up the mountain again, put our boat in. We're halfway across this lake, and it because of the way they flooded it years ago, it's just a stick pond. You can't see them. And bloody, when there's a foot of ground fog on the water and one little headlamp, and you're paddling, both of you paddling, you skid right up on them before you know it.
Right.
And we got stuck, but we got off, and we got to where we was going. We got the decoys out, and I'm thinking, man, 'cause we went right up into this little pocket where they'd gotten up out of, and I'm thinking, God damn, this is it, boy. This is beautiful. And golly, was it so scenic, man. You forget you were in West Virginia. And, well, long story short, we stayed till about noon. Never saw the mallards or black ducks again. Never, ever saw eyes on them. Shot a Canada goose. And that's one thing I will say about West Virginia. Them boys know how to hunt. And what I learned is because it's not a flyway. It's not like a flyway. It's just a few birds pass through. And there's really not a lot of, there's a lot more bear hunters and deer hunters and things of that nature than there are duck hunters in West Virginia. And therefore, a lot of the birds you do see are pretty naive. And so we see a Canada goose flying down the middle of the lake, about the place we got stuck. We hit him with a call, and what's he do? Comes around to give us a look. We had the mojos running. He didn't care.
Right.
He comes over 30 yards high, and I dump him. Bye-yow. You know, thank you, Ball Shot Shells. Thank you, Rob Roberts. R3. Boom. He dumps like a cinder block. Boom. Falls, hits the ground. Char walks 2 feet, picks him up, brings him to me. And all right, well, I think we got to wait on these black ducks. You know, I got a thing for black ducks. Lord have mercy, do I love a black duck. And about that time, a pair of gadwalls come in, and I shot the drake. And I'll be darned if the hen didn't fly 50 yards and come back, right back. Well, I killed her too. And I mean, and I'll tell you all this, you know, I think gadwalls are beautiful. I like to shoot them, but that's kind of our bread and butter duck in the deep South anymore. Where I hunt, I'm kind of tired of shooting gadwalls. It's funny, the places I've been, Oregon or Utah or somewhere, Azerbaijan. I've been somewhere, and it's like those sons of bitches follow me everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, oh, well, I got some gadwalls over here in West Virginia too. And they're like, he's like, dude, I've been hunting here for 10 or 15 years, and I've only shot one gadwall in my life. You know, he said, that's a big deal around here. And I said, well, I'll take it. But that was my West Virginia experience. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, it's like, and what I'm saying is, you know, that's a long ways to go to shoot 5 or 6 birds. But at the end of the day, man, just the scenery and the people and the food and the hospitality and the stories and the restaurants. And it just, man, you know, we went one day to scout a hot tip. There were some geese on the river right near Harper's Ferry, which is a very historical site since time immemorial. So that's kind of where I fall off into. I left there, went down to, well, I had a few days off, and boy, I needed it. And I spent some time in a cheap hotel, a dirt cheap, kind of hotel my wife won't stay in. You know what I'm saying? Or most folks won't stay in, but me and old Char Dog, we like cheap hotels if it's got good Wi-Fi. And stayed there and called up on some work, went on a great Maryland duck hunt with a friend of mine. And went to a party that night and met a lot of cool guys. You know, again, the experiences. You know, I meet a guy, 4-time world champion goose caller, with a call. It's the craziest call. Sean Mann makes this call. It originated with Helen Knight. It looks to me more like an elk bugle because it's like a short little flared out horn with a piece of latex stretched over the top half.
That's cool.
And that man when he starts blowing that call, I'm like, oh my gosh. And it gave it to me, and 5 minutes later, I got it to make like a buck grunt. But that's the beginning and the end. And the boys that have been around there trying to blow that call, like him said, I've had that call 10 years and I can't do no better than you just did. And so then I left and went down to the eastern shore of Maryland, hunted with the High and Dry boys. Brian is a 4th or 5th generation hog bay oyster man. And I think I ate about 3 bushels of oysters in my days there, plus a lot of other food. And we could have gone out to the bays. There were more buffleheads and red-breasted merganders that they call shell crackers than I've ever seen. And but I really wanted a black duck, and we stuck with it. And I'll be dadgum if it took 2 days, a day and a half of the 2 days I was there of hunting, and finally we limited on black ducks on the one afternoon, and that was it. That was state 49. State number 50 would be Hawaii, and there's no legal ducks. And
it's in the teens that morning, and maybe you're chasing ducks or geese. But now it's September and it's 85 degrees and you're hunting early teal or geese. As a waterfowler, you need dependable weather protection that will not break the bank. Founded in 1996, Frog Togs is not only the leader in breathable wader technology, but a company you can depend on to keep you warm and dry, head to toe, no matter your hunting environment. Stay bone dry by using discount code ZD315 for 15% off not only your first purchase, like most discount codes, but how about every single purchase you make from now until December 31st, 2024? So you started in Saskatchewan and ended in Virginia's, right?
That's it.
And so where did it go from there?
Well, in between there, now that's something else. I really like to meet my Newfie buddies, even though they're from Nova Scotia. Some of the folks out west call them Newfies. They hate to be called Newfies, therefore I call them Newfies. And so they, when I left them, they parted ways, and I jumped around 2 or 3 other locations in Saskatchewan. Then I got drawn to go to Manitoba, and I love to hunt the Interlakes region with some close friends of mine up there. It's also Canadian, and we jump around and shoot Canada geese, sometimes ducks, but I love to shoot those big Canada geese. And then I was back to Saskatchewan, and after Saskatchewan, I went to Alberta, hunted with Rob Reynolds and those boys up there. And had a dynamite hunt. Hunted with a friend and a lot of his friends, and we're all friends now. The boys at Falco and Turtle Box and my grandma and just a whole bunch of them up there. But we were hunting with Rob Reynolds at Ranch Land, and boy, does he do it right. And left there and went down to central Alberta to hunt with a couple other locals. And those boys there, I'm gonna tell you, there's a guy about my age and 2 young men, and they hunt snow geese as hardcore and seriously as any 3 human beings I've ever met.
God bless them.
And, the limit's 50. And I'd usually get tired before I hit a limit of 50. They don't. And they get up and they do it again and again and again and again. And I just, they told me when I pulled up, I hunted with them a few years ago, and they told me, man, it's been tough, been a tough season, been tough. And it was tough. That drought everybody's talking about up in Canada is real. Son, it is real as a nose on your face. And I've seen it get drier and drier and drier for each of the past 5 years. And what happened this year is, talking to the farmers up in Saskatchewan especially, but I saw it throughout Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, all of Western Canada. I could say the same thing. It was dry as a popcorn fart. And what happened is the crops made but didn't make great. And then to add to that, what waste grain there was, wheat and barley, they did catch a late rain that did what? Made it sprout. So you look out there at these fields and it's pretty green. And, the truth of the matter is, when you get down to the deep south, Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, whatever, in the spring, those snow geese have converted. They want that green because they need protein to build muscle mass.
Yes.
But when these birds are coming off the Arctic and starting to stage up in prairie Canada, they don't want protein. They want carbohydrate. They want that grain, man. They want to build in fat reserves.
Yeah.
And so what I noticed, and it took me about a week of getting kicked in the cojones constantly by these snow geese to figure this out. They were just jump. They were just jumping. Well, you got guys like us and other teams and other outfitters and everybody else that they go sit in the field for 2 hours and you put them to bed. You go out there the next morning. So add to that, they're out there looking for grain. They're finding green stuff. So they're combing these fields real quick, combined by the fact that we're all trying to kill them.
Now, let me ask you this, Ramsey, let me ask you this. So I had my first guiding experience last year, and I did it in Northeast Arkansas for snow geese. And one thing I learned is that you basically chase them in two different ways. And that is, you either have like a standard setup, where you're leaving it out there all the time, or you're chasing a feed. How was that going with you guys? Like, how was you guys?
No, we hunt the feeds. Up north, you hunt the feeds. Like if you're catching if you're catching those birds, say I'm hunting in northern Missouri or Nebraska or wherever hell, Arkansas even, in the late spring during the conservation order, you put up a massive spread and you camp out under them and just, luck of the draw, you catch them when they come through and they feel like playing, the weather combines and everything else. But when you're up in Canada, you're scouting that the feed is everything. So we go off and we hunt till usually we hunt till, let's just say in a good year, we'll hunt till 10 or 11 o'clock. And by the time we clean all the birds, get them packaged, drop them off at the butcher, go eat breakfast, go take a nap. Well, then we're back out at 3 or 4 o'clock, depending on what the flight is, watching. I mean, we're scouting. We got 2 trucks. We go in 2 different directions and about a tank of gas a day. That's not always the case. This year, we got kicked in the cojones so hard a couple of days. We'd pull the plug at 8:30 and we'd get out and try to find them right then and there. And that worked. We had some good shoots in Saskatchewan this year, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't as consistent. We worked way harder for way less results. By the time I got to that central Alberta, that last stop in Western Canada, I was walking by. I mean, it was Nelly bar the effing door. It was freaking snow geese like you dream of. And we went out all full body, some good wind, some good migration activity, and we almost limited every single hunt. And
wow.
It was good. Almost every single day we limited, and it was good. I was wore out after cleaning all them birds and doing all that work. And but it was, it's like on the walk back to the truck one day, one of the men told me, he goes, "Son, you hit it just right." He said, this is the best 3 days we've had all year. And so I had about 4 days off, actually a little bit more, but I allotted 4 days. My wife will fly up. She'll come to Saskatchewan or come somewhere. This year she came to Calgary. We spent 3 or 4 days together working and, catching up on things and spent a little time there. And then she flew home and I drove from, and this is crazy. I'm in Calgary, Alberta, and I'm going to meet Jaden Banks over in Ontario. We're going to hunt divers on Long Point. And I don't know, again, Canada
where's Long Point at?
It's in southern Ontario.
Okay.
And
is it on the Lake
it's on
Ottawa?
It's on Lake Erie. Lake
Erie, okay.
Lake Erie. And big water. But these boys, Banks Boat, if you ever heard of that. I mean, 3 generations of boat builders and layout boats and all that good stuff. They know how to freaking do it.
Yep.
And I have hunted layouts before. But Jaden was on our podcast, and, man, he got to telling stories about some of them folks and the way they hunt. Dude, I said, man, if I ever pass through, I want to do it. Well, in addition to the United States, there's a few Canadian provinces I haven't hunted. And New Brunswick is one of them, and Prince Edward Island is another. I wish I'd had time to revisit Quebec and Nova Scotia. I did not. So what I decided I would do this year, since I'm heading from Alberta all the way down to Virginia and West Virginia to end it before Thanksgiving, I decided, well, I'm going to head all the way out to PEI by way of Ontario. And it was everything I've ever dreamed of a big water hunt to do. The first day, we throw all them decoys out on them long lines, and I'm just kind of standing out of the way and hand them things as they need it. That's the best thing to do, by the way. If you ain't a diver hunter serious about this stuff, you just keep the hell out of the way and let them boys do it.
Yeah,
because they got a system to put out 350 decoys on a bunch of long lines that makes sense to them. I'm sitting here watching while we're talking. I'm watching Christmas Vacation, and every time I see Chevy Chase light up his house, it reminds me, excuse me,
yeah,
of my personality. Just ain't Christmas light type guy. Yeah. I'm not that kind of guy.
Yeah.
I'm good swinging a hammer or an axe. I hate doing fine detail stuff, and that's a lot of what putting them long line decoys is out. Mm-hmm. There's a science and an art to it. And the first day they said, you're going first, and they dropped me off in that layout boat. And I'm gonna tell you what, I'm in that Hercules layout boat, which is as comfortable as any ground layout blind I've ever been in. I mean, when I say comfortable, I mean I was cozy and comfortable. But I'm looking like eyeball level at those redhead and bluebill decoys. I mean, I'm just laying down looking eyeball level, and here comes a freak, and they come around. All they do is make a pass, hook up into the wind, and come headlong a foot or two off the water right at me, a flock of redheads. And the tenders came out and grabbed them up, and they weren't even back in position when off the big water comes a flock of. I told him they get excited about the redheads, and I really wanted to shoot the greater bluebills, the greater scop. I've shot a few of them over the years, but that's the broad bills. I've shot way more mini redheads than that, and I'll be dead gum if right off the freaking big water, here they come, and they hooked up on that side, and I had to I'm right-handed, so I had to lean like on my side, and bam, and just first shot I'm done. So I mean, two volleys, and I got my 6-bird limit. I'm back in the boat, and it's like I could have quit right then, but I didn't. I went out the next afternoon, and the following day I got 3 or 4 days worth of it, and it was just amazing. It was just that little town. I ain't gonna put it on a map, but that little town, it's just like everybody knows everybody. We'd go to the grocery store at 5 a.m, and within about the second morning, I was friends with the owner, and she made coffee, and she made some tacos, and she did all the sandwiches for us. I mean, it was just, and we're back out on the water, and it was just to get to see and experience that part of the world was unbelievable.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, Ramsey, because we just got back from hunting the Florida's Forgotten Coast. And we did a diver hunt with Williamson Outfitters, which is a sponsor of our podcast. First class operation, father-son deal. And I tell you what, man, it was that we hunted redheads. We got lesser scout, and of course we had to have a fun little buffy hunt. And it was just a surreal experience being out. I was watching that sunrise. I guess it was yesterday morning. We're out there hunting on this flat, and all around me, all I can see is the horizon of water. And I'm out there, I feel like miles away from land, and I'm just like, what a special place that I'm here, that this
Oh
is
my gosh.
that the waterfowl come to this place to get their mussels and get their whatever they're feeding on. And man, I'll tell you, I understood why we're calling this new video Florida's Forgotten Coast.
Yeah.
And it's a special place in the world. It's a special place in Florida, and we can't wait to show everybody the story. It was interesting. We took a day off or a morning off and went and experienced the history of that town of Apalachicola.
Oh boy.
Wow. I mean,
My favorite oysters in the Gulf Coast come from down there.
yeah, I mean, every block you turn, we stopped at a coffee shop that was an old oyster shucking station, and he told us, he said, people still come in here today that worked here shucking oysters.
Man, isn't that something?
Isn't it? I mean, just to dive into that culture, so we're super excited about bringing that story to life. We got that new, we're doing that One Hell of a Duck season, and it's presented by Frog Dogs, and we're just super excited. 100%.
I'm excited for you. That's going to be awesome.
We're laser focused on telling the story, and just like you told me a long time ago. Well, I say it a long time ago. It was only a couple of years ago, but one of the biggest words of wisdom I ever got from you was, you don't understand people's culture until you put your feet up under their table.
No, you don't. That's the best way to get a sense of who people are and who cultures are and what localities are. It's just no better way of doing it than that. I mean, but now, let me tell y'all something. Canada, I'm driving from one province to the next. I'm just going 3 provinces over.
Yeah.
And from Alberta to Ontario. And I never will forget one time I had these guys from Malta visit me from Mississippi. And Malta is 7 miles wide and 20 miles long. And we left my Vicksburg camp heading up to North Mississippi. And about an hour later, he goes, Ramsey, we're still in Mississippi. And I go, yeah, dude, we're in Mississippi. And about an hour later, he asked me again. I go, yeah, dude, we're going to be we're hunting in Mississippi. And he just couldn't, the scale of the state of Mississippi compared to Malta. He's like, wow. Well, dadgum, let me tell you something. That's what I'm getting at. From freaking Calgary, Alberta to Long Point, Ontario was further than from Calgary, Alberta to my home in Mississippi. It was a haul. It was 32 hours. And people say, man, how do you drive 32 hours? I go, from one nap to the next. I'll drive and listen to podcasts and talk on the phone. That's when I call. I'll be driving down the road and I think, man, I ain't talked to that guy since college, or I ain't talked to that guy in 3 years, Yeah. And that's when I talk on the phone. And when I get tired, I'm usually in too big a hurry and too cheap to get a hotel. I will get a hotel sometime, but I usually don't. I usually get to a point, So I got all the way into about an hour from the border. I cut down through the United States, and 'cause it was quicker than going up around Lake Ontario or whatever that was, and staying in Canada, it was way better and faster. And so I did that, come into Ontario and hunted, left there, drove 15 hours west to New Brunswick, which was one of the coolest hunts I've done because it was brand new. And I did not know, as compared to Western Canada and Quebec and places like that, I just really didn't realize that it was so much like Maine. And the culture and just the history, and very, very interesting. Boy, I tell you what, that St. Johns River, I've never seen so many black ducks in my life. And we didn't hunt it because most folks don't. And we jumped up on the some ag land, and we shot big geese, and we shot black ducks, and we shot mallards, and it was awesome. I hunted with Matthew Wilson up there, and it was just a really, really good time. And I'll tell you a funny story. And for a man to shoot so many ducks, I'm woefully behind on bands, and I just don't have what I call band luck. Although this year I'm on a streak of epic proportion. And I went up there and hunted the last day, and we're hunting a tiny little old pond about the size of a average living room or something, you know, that some farmer had dug out like a big deep hole to put trout in, and you could shoot across it. Heck, you can shoot 20 yards across it, and you could hear those mallards down that river, mack, 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 mack. And we waited a little bit, and it got light, and here come a few ducks. I shot right, he shot left, or vice versa. And here come a few more, and there were 3 of us in the blind. 2 of us shooting, 2 guys on the end taking turns. Here come a single duck, and I said, take him, Ramsey. Boom, I shot. And it was it was just after shooting lights. For me, it was a little tough to tell. I thought it was a hen mallard, but, you know, it could have been a black duck. Yeah, it was a hen mallard, but it was banded. I'm like, well, doggone, if I'm going to shoot a...
Do you want coffee that doesn't suck? Get the Duck. Dirty Duck coffee is made specifically for the waterfowl enthusiast. Enjoy flavors like Morning Wood, Dark Dynasty, Cinnamon Teal Snickerdoodle, and First Flight to unlock the flavor that you'll enjoy in the blind for years to come. Our friends at Dirty Duck Coffee Company are now offering all Zero Duck 30 followers a 15% discount when you use code ZeroDuck15 on your next order.
A hen, that's a good one.
Right.
And I'm just 2 away from a limit, man. I got my black duck, got a band. How much better could it get? I woke up and Trump was elected. I mean, this was one of them days, you know what I'm saying? It can't get no better.
I watched it until 4:30 in the morning with my niece that came here from Germany. She wanted to see Trump be elected and go with my daughter to the voting booth. How cool is that?
Dude, you know, it's funny you say that. The whole world keeps up with the American election. Like the lady at the grocery store, the first time she met me, she goes, oh, you up here to get away from all that shit going down in the States next week? I'm like, no, I've already voted. I absentee voted. I've been voted. And, but so many people, everybody up there was asking, dude, you know what blew my mind is out in Western Canada, you would not believe, I saw at least 12 billboards, not billboards, but election signs in people's yards and Trump flags in Canada. And I'm like, I mean, can you imagine?
Well, my niece, you know, she originally wanted to come here because my mom came here from Germany when she was 18 years old, but she wanted to come here and experience American freedom and what that was all about and stuff. And her mom contacted me on Facebook, and we brought her over, and ever since then, she's wanted to experience everything about America. And when she said, I want to come there, and so I'm watching it on TV live, and I'm seeing what's starting to transpire, and I went up there and woke her up. And I said, get up right now. And she said, what? I said, Trump's getting ready to be president again. She goes, oh my God.
I'm telling you, dude.
Oh, it's one of the biggest things that's happened in American history.
It is one, because of the word mandate. It was an absolute mandate. It's like, you know, I did not realize how much better it is that he got elected this time instead of last time. Because if he'd gotten elected last time, we'd have had a Democratic House and Senate. He'd have been hamstrung.
Yep. Well, you know, I heard
this time, Buddy White Earp is going down the OK Corral with buddies. That's what's fixing to happen in D.C.
Yep. Well, you know, and I heard Kevin, what's his name from Shark Tank? Kevin O'Leary.
Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah, he said, you know what? I hate to tell you, Democratic Party, but this is the best thing that's ever happened to you. He's,
it is.
You know, and just taking a positive spin on the Democratic Party. But no, it really humbled me to death to see somebody from a different country that's a relative family, you know, as a young person, which is important, you know, as a young person.
But to your point about a young person coming all the way to America to watch this election.
Yeah.
Okay. That and all those election signs in Canada, that goes to show you that everything that the corporate media have been telling us is complete and utter bullshit.
Yep.
It is bullshit lies.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? It is absolute junk.
Well, I remember
because you know have me thinking if I watched watched the television or read any newspaper or Drudge Report, anybody else, you'd have me thinking that me and you and three others were going to vote for Trump and nobody else.
Right. Absolutely. You know, and I go back to, I remember, you know, my stepmother, she is in her late 80s, mid to late 80s, and she told me, you know, you need to really watch this 2 hour or this hour or 2 hour long documentary with about Tom Brokaw. And I said, okay, I'll watch it, you know, and my dad grew up working for Winchester, and he was a you know, a Teamster and a Union man, and of course in the town we grew up in was heavy Democratic and all that, and she said, you just need to watch this and call me after. And the thing that I grabbed from it as I called her back, I said, there was a time, they said, or he said, I'm sorry, he goes, there was a time in America when the president said, this is what we're going to do. You put your hand on your heart and you said, yes, sir.
That's right.
And that just grabbed me so deep. I mean, so deep. I was like, my gosh, I remember thinking that when I was in 4th grade when Ronald Reagan got voted president, you know, and just having that passion and heart for the patriotism and the America. I mean, you know, and to see what this silliness has been going on for the last 4 years, I mean, thank God we're going where we are, and only good things are going to happen.
No, you're right, but you know, it was just to wake up in New Brunswick and have a black duck, my third in 3 days, and a band, and all of us, me and my New Brunswick buddies, we're all sitting there looking at our phones in between the volleys, thinking, "Oh my gosh, Trump!" Reading headlines to each other.
Yeah,
you know, and then if it couldn't get no better, it did. I'm 2 ducks away from a limit, and 4 mallards circled and circled and circled, and by then you could tell they're all 4 greenheads. And they pitch in, and we called a shot, and I saved the back bird for the boy on the right. I picked number 2, skip over to number 1, bam, bam, I shoot, bam, 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 all 4 of them fall. The char dog goes out, and the first duck she picks up is what? Pansy.
No way! Wow!
And I'm like, wow, but I didn't know who shot it, and I'm thinking, well, bird number 1's that one on the water. This might be bird number 2, my first one, and then we both shot the other 2 behind us. We got them all 4 up, and boy ain't never shot a band. I'm like, well, I reckon you can have it. And about the time the boy in the middle who had filmed it, he said, wait a minute now. I ain't trying to deny him his first band. Yeah. But he said, I got the video, and it ain't no doubt who shot it.
Oh, shoot.
And so I go home with 2 bands, and Trump's elected. But I'm gonna tell you, I leave there and I drive just a little bit further east, and it was one of my bucket list hunts of all time. Somewhere I've always wanted to hunt, and my friend Woody, who's Canadian, he asked me one day on the 3rd day, we're out there sitting around hunting, and boy, that's a hunt I won't never forget for a lot of reasons. And you better believe Prince Edward Island has got black ducks. That is their duck.
Yeah.
That is their duck. And, you know, I recorded a podcast with an old timer. His family's been on the island since the early 1700s. They've owned a hotel business for 5 generations.
Goodness.
And, you know, he's an avid duck hunter, and he remembers just 20 or 30 years ago killing his first mallard. And asked, he's like, man, he wants to shoot black ducks. That's what they shoot. He even told a story. This podcast will be out this month. He even told a story about his uncle. I believe it was his uncle and granddaddy, his great uncle and granddaddy. They had two live black duck decoys, and said the little black duck hen would walk into a box, and they take them out and anchor them, and they put her on one side of the blind and him on the other. And they loved, man, she said that duck was so happy. she would quack and quack and quack and quack and quack and just bring all them other ducks in. And God, what a great story that was. And you know, Woody asked me, he said, well, how did Prince Edward Island get on your radar? I go, I don't know, Woody, but I've just always wanted to do this. And he knows me. He knows, listen to the podcast and following us a little bit in social media. He kind of knows that beyond the trigger pull, I want to get eyeball deep immersed into wherever I'm hunting, you know?
Sure.
So when we meet there at the cottage I'm staying at, he steps out of his truck with some fresh oysters right from PEI, you know, and a shucking knife. And I go, here you go. And help yourself out when you give you something to do. Just leave them on the front porch because they're alive. They've been out of water 5 hours, and make yourself at home. And then we ate mussels and we ate lobster and we did all kinds of stuff, but we hunted. And the first morning we're going out to hunt a dry field. Right there, got a bay all around us, just a barley field or wheat field, one or the other. But we stop, and the tide had gone down on the beach. The tide had gone down, and he breaks out croaker sacks and buckets that help me load this eelgrass.
Mm.
And we just start filling up croaker sacks and buckets with it, and then we drive out to our field, and we stick up 3 mojos and big double handful clumps like little fire ant mounds in the dark of this eelgrass.
No kidding.
He said, that's our decoys. They've been hunting like that here. And I'm going to tell you what, wet eelgrass, the colors are spot on for a black duck. I mean, it's not quite black, but that brown, olive brown color, it's just spot on.
Huh.
And I'll be damned if we didn't shoot mallards and black duck and pintail with that setup.
No kidding.
And went out that evening and put out, because we hadn't finished our limit. We went out that evening and put out black duck decoy silhouettes he had made and more eelgrass and shot a few more black ducks. It was just, man, I was in hog heaven. You know, because now I've decided, okay, I got to hunt Newfoundland and British Columbia. Now I can say, unless I want to jump up in the territories, I've hunted all the Canadian provinces too. And I do want to go up to Nunavut. I do want to go up to Northwest Territories one day. You know, it's such a big world. And once you start down that path, that's what it's all about. But I gotta say this. I just really got to say this to anybody listening. You know, duck season somewhere it's not just a slogan. We do sell hunts worldwide. We organize hunts worldwide. We're nearly 25 years in the business, and we don't sell a hunt that I haven't put boots on the ground and believe in. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean, hey, come sell my hunt. Hell no. I turned down a lot of invites like it. And I'm talking, I look at these hunts, not based on the trigger pull, because these are migratory birds to a no matter where in the world we go, these are migratory birds subject to weather and shooting ability and all the fundamentals that go into duck hunting, period. But I compare those hunts based on thousands of hunts worldwide that I have visited. You know what I'm saying? And it comes with experience. You know, it's like a Tom Begbie coat, that wax patina. You can't buy it, buddy. You gotta wear it to make that coat shine. And that's just kind of how you got to earn it, man. That's how I approach these hunts. But really and truly, you know, I met a lot of people this year more than ever that really made me feel good, because, you know, this duck season somewhere, this North American tour, this world tour, the stuff I'm doing, this chasing these ducks. And you know what? Now that I've hunted the entire United States.
How many miles did you trek?
Well, between September and that 8 weeks or 9 weeks I was on the road this year, it was almost 14,000 miles when I come pulling in the driveway.
Goodness gracious.
Two oil changes and two tire rotations.
Do you know what it takes to go completely around the world? I don't know.
I think it's about 8,500 miles.
Goodness
gracious. I could be wrong. I could be off a little bit, but maybe it's twice that.
You did that in a minute.
Maybe it's twice that, but yeah, I've done that a few times, I think. But now people say, "What now?" I go, "Well, I'm not going to quit and go play golf." There's a lot of, I've been to California, Washington, Oregon, but I ain't gone deep. And I think next year, if God willing and the creek don't rise, I'm going to leave Alberta and head to British Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got some clients and friends and contacts over there. And then I'm going to jump down to, I think the way my schedule is, late October, I've got a couple trip planned in Scotland. So I think what we're going to do is my wife is going to meet me, I think, in British Columbia. We'll probably take a few days off in Vancouver. Then we're going to drive together down to SeaTac in Seattle, fly over to Scotland for 5 days, meet my clients, and have a good time over there. We're going to goose and duck hunt in mornings and go tour Scotch distilleries in the evening. That sounds like a winning plan to me, buddy.
Right.
And then come back, and she'll probably fly back home. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to point that little black truck of mine south, and I'm going to stop when I get to the Mexican border.
Mm.
And there's a lot of California, a lot of Oregon, and a lot of Washington I still want to see. And that's an amazing flyway. I think the Pacific Flyway is just incredible. And there's still places in the Atlantic Flyway, South Carolina, that I really want to do a deeper dive in. There's just a lot of places. Of course, I want to go back to PEI. I want to go back to New Brunswick. I want to go back to Maine. There's a lot of places I want to do a deep dive back into, because I just, the United States of America is unbelievably blessed. I started off saying it, and I'm gonna say it again. We're unbelievably blessed, not only with the species and habitat and cultural diversity we've got approaching duck hunting, but man, I looked up some numbers. Another conversation got me started down a rabbit hole last year about we're killing too many ducks. Well, we're killing too many ducks. Science is wrong. Bullshit. The science is right. And if it ain't right, let me tell you what it is. It's the best science on earth. But there's not even a close second. It's like if we were all on a track running 4 laps. We done lap the second placer 2 or 3 times. We done cross the finish line, and he's just getting started. I'm telling you, there's no other science in the world for waterfowl management and harvest and population and all that stuff. There's none. And so I started doing a little digging around the internet. In the 21-22 season, the United States of America shot 8.2 million ducks, not waterfowl, ducks. I'm gonna tell you right now, Tony, prove me wrong, but I'm gonna say it. I've said it. I'm gonna say it again. I dare say that number far exceeds the remainder of the world combined.
Yeah.
There's no way Argentina's shooting 1 million ducks. It's
No.
zero. It's impossible.
No.
That same year, Canada shot about 375,000 ducks. Mexico shot, if I extrapolate, like there's 20 outfitters, and I work with 5 of them. And I know the math is simple, son. This many bed nights times this many ducks. It's simple. It's just simple math. It's 4th grade math. But what I know about the 20 waterfowl outfitters nationwide in Mexico is some of them kill more. And I know one of mine in particular kills a bunch. Simple math. And when I take that number times 20, I come up with 250,000. Okay, well let's just get crazy and say it's twice that. Let's just assume that all the outfitters shoot that much. They don't. And let's just assume it's really twice as much. It ain't. It's 500,000 birds plus Canada. Let's take the highest harvest they've had in 20 years, 675,000. Okay, that's 1.1 million. That's still 15% of the U.S. harvest.
Right. Exactly.
That's nothing.
That's nothing. No, it's
I mean,
nothing.
the truth of the matter is the state of Arkansas kills that many ducks. California kills more ducks. California, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Minnesota, those 5 states kill half the ducks killed in the United States of America. 5 states kill 4.5 million ducks that year, I quoted.
Wow.
Come on, man. We are blessed, man. We are blessed. We live in the richest and best country for waterfowl hunting. But here's what I'm getting at. Man, that tour, me doing it, me being with these people, sitting around the fires, eating oysters, shooting ducks, putting out eelgrass, sitting under the sun. That's great. That is my life journey. But I love to share these conversations with biologists and cooks and restaurants and people and more hunters with different accents and different techniques and different histories and different cultures. I love to share that in the podcast. I love to put these on Instagram stories as I'm road tripping. I love to write about it on these posts I make. Not to sit here and pound my chest and brag, man, but to inspire people like yourself and Tristan to go out there and now y'all have got a film project.
Yeah.
And showing these kids and showing these people that the world is so much beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much better than just our backyard. We're living this rich and amazing country, and you ain't got to do it all at one time. You ain't got to drive 15,000 miles in the next 2 months to do it. Man, you got the whole rest of your life. But here's what I'm telling everybody: do it.
Yeah, even if it's a state
pick
over.
Pick a state, pick a county, and go pick a species and go and do it while it's here to enjoy.
Yeah.
Because if you look back at the last 20 years, the last 50 years, the last 100 years, the last 200 years of American history, it ain't going to be here forever.
No.
When you see up there in that Canadian drought.
Cody Johnson says, till you can't.
Till you can't, from can to can't. Because what I see, what's most disturbing about that drought is not the dryness, not the sprouted wheat, not how hard it is to hunt, not even the lack of productivity, short of it snowing up to the roof lines on every house in Canadian Prairie. I cannot imagine, I cannot fathom that we're not going to have a restrictive 30-day 3-duck season before we come out of this drought. I just can't imagine it. But what's most disturbing is that you can't tile wetlands when they got water on them. But when they're dry right now, I've seen with my own eyeballs tile going in so that they're not going to hold wetlands no more. I've seen dirt pans moving for the last 5 years go slough off the high ground and fill in the low ground. So you ain't got to worry about it being wet producing ducks. I can produce my crops on it in the future up in Prairie, Canada.
I just watched a great special where it was on PBS where Delta Waterfowl was they were cited as for their work that they've been doing up in the Prairie Powell region and getting people up there to understand that what they're doing and what their habitat like. In that video, they were interviewing this farmer, and they're like, well, that's like ground you can make money on. Why are you not filling that? And he's like, there's a bigger message here, and man, what would we not do? Or what would we do without these incredible organizations that we have?
Well, that's what I'm saying. When I talk about the science of North American waterfowl management, which is maximum sustained yield, same as you manage timber, same as you manage tomatoes, same as you manage sales. It's all about maximum sustained yield. It's not just federal government agencies. We've got state government agencies. We've got universities. We've got NGOs, plural. We've got Ducks Unlimited, Delta Waterfowl, and more. And it's all buoyed by a $200-some-odd billion hunting community that's coming out of my pocket and yours, be it excise taxes on stamps, federal stamps and sporting goods, to the 72% thereabouts of waterfowl habitat in the United States of America, as expressed in kilocalories, energy for ducks, is on private property.
Yes. 100%.
You know,
When the
that's
Truman
a
Act
lot
is
of
giant
time and
piece of
money.
that.
That's a lot of time and money going in to produce this resource we've got, to manage it, to do something for it. But it's not enough. I'm telling you, man, when you've got all this prairie pothole stuff being dredged, when you've got from the Gulf Coast all the way up to the boreal forest, you've got civilization, you've got pesticides, you've got wetlands drainages, you've got crops to feed the world and feed the cattle, you've got all these habitat changes.
Well, and what about that whole thing that they did, that Wings Over Water? That was a big part of DU. They put it
Oh my gosh, Chris Dorsey did that. Yeah, amazing.
They put it in 10,000 school systems. You know, I mean, one thing that is the biggest takeaway for me for that we've been preached, we said it several times on this podcast, is that it's one of the most significant places in the world. It is the most significant place,
I'm telling you,
for waterfowl in the world. Number one, most important area. It's as important as the Okeechobee. It's as important as the Serengeti, and just getting the awareness up. You know, I'm sitting there, Ramsey, the other day, and I guess it was yesterday, and I was sitting there. I was like, I'm gonna eat some. I had some extra jambalaya, and I'm sitting there eating it during lunch, and I work from home and for my day job, and I was like, I'll flip on TV something while I'm sitting there chowing this, and don't you know what pops up is a little David Attenborough special on eiders. And I'm like, look at this shit. And it's showing that the eiders in this specific area, maybe you could shed some light on this, they're the only waterfowl that can harvest the mussels from this area because of the strength of the current. They've been specially designed. The currents are so strict and so tight. It showed, like, you know how, like, when you're on a river and you'll see what do you call that when it spins in a circle? We used to call it something. It'll suck you right down there if you're in the water.
Yeah. Whirlpool, like a whirlpool.
Yeah, they're showing that, and these eiders are just they're driving it. They're like, this is perfect. And as they get smaller towards the toilet bowl, they just keep diving down. And I'm like, they are so smart that they're using what nature has to get them to the bottom so they can pull these things, and they're just eating them whole, you know. But no, it's an incredible thing that we have with waterfowl. It's an amazing thing that we even get the opportunity to do this. And you're right. If we don't keep at bat with protecting all these resources, they're going to be gone.
No, they're going to be gone. But you know what?
You talked about Australia, right? What's happened with that since last time we talked?
Well, they're still touch and go. But we did that big Battleground Australia video down there last year. We took some geneticists, but they got reprieve for now because basically the largest labor union in the country said, if y'all ban duck hunting, we're going to go on strike. You know, and the world don't move without them. So you know that they got some reprieve, but you better believe those antis are still getting after it. There's antis right here in our backyard. That's what nobody sees. The thing I love about anti hunters in Australia is you see them. They're out there acting like a bunch of purple-haired fools at the boat ramps, and you know. But you don't see ours. Ours are smarter, more educated. They got lobbies. Mm-hmm. They not. I mean, look at what happened to Almost up there in Colorado. You know, but that's what I call a mandate, man. I mean, you know, I think the woke ass stuff got chased back to the dark ages after the last 4 years. Because you know, all the good stuff down in Florida, you're talking about, they just legislated hunting as a state right now.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying. The mountain lion stuff got derailed over in Colorado, and now we've got a lot of. There ain't even no red state. There really ain't no blue states. It's all blue cities.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And you know, after this last election, so that'll be good for us. But you know, I tell you something that happened to me when I kicked off this tour this year. This is my 5th consecutive year to really, really take off and go at it hard. I've been jumping around for the past 30 years doing this stuff, but this is, since 2018, I really got serious about it and started touring more. And COVID just threw fuel on the fire. But the first stop I was at this year was with some friends of mine down in Double Bayou, Texas, East Texas, down in Anahuac County. I actually met this fella. I had come home to say goodbye to an old friend last year who was in hospice. And I was coming back, man, I was just up in my head. I walked the wrong gate. I was in kind of a fog. And somebody yelled my name. He knew me off social media. And we stopped and we talked, man. It was a great conversation. He said, man, if you ever come back down, I know you get down there to hunt with Mr. Gene and Anahuac. Please come hunt with me. So I called him up. I had a day. I called him up. And I go out with Nick and his girlfriend and my buddy here. And we all go out and we shoot a limit of blue wings in the marsh. It was just kick butt, and we got done. One of the boys wanted me to sign his ball cap. I'm like, dude, I don't sign. I don't do this. It's embarrassing. He's like, man, it meant a lot to me if you sign it. I said, I know, but man, I ain't nobody. I'm a duck hunter. And he said something to me. He said, Mr. Ramsey, he said, I wrote a high school paper, plural, about you. I go, what? He goes, I ain't lying. He said, man, my teacher said, who is Ramsey Russell? I said, this guy hunts all over the world. And he talks about conservation. And he talks about hunting. And he's trying to make the world a better place, I feel like. And I want to be just like him.
Wow.
And I signed his hat. And that really, well, it was humbling. It was overwhelming, really. But it made me realize that this duck season somewhere mission I'm on, I've called it my gospel. It ain't about me. Oh, I'm enjoying it, son. It's been one hell of a life. Okay. But really and truly, I'm an old man. I'm 58 years old. This kid telling me that was 22 years old. And you know what? Self-funded. I don't mean outfitted. I mean do it yourself in it. This kid is 2 ducks away from the slam in North America because he began to listen to the podcast or watch the post, and it inspired him to go and see it and do it. And what I want everybody doing, pick a species, pick a hunt you've heard about. Pick it ain't got to be guided. If you want to go on a guided hunt, call me. It ain't got to be guided. We also got a lot of public land. Hell yeah, it's crowded. Get in there and do it.
That's right.
Get in there and do it. Play the game. That's the game, man.
Yeah.
Just get out there and do it. If you got to save your money for a couple of tanks of gas, save it. Man, I still don't mind. What I do pack with a whole lot of stuff in my truck, I pack a pillow. And that way, when I can't keep my eyes open, I pull over, pull my hat down, put my pillow under my head, lay the seats back, boom. And I wake up in 3 or 5 or 6, 7 hours whenever I need to, and I get up and start driving again. That don't cost nothing. Just go and do it, because it's out there to be done.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
You bring something, and this just resonated with me. The old timer got me into bow hunting years ago when I was a young boy, and he really taught me the outdoors overall. And before I got being a duck hunter, and I would listen to him tell me stories. And he's back in the 60s and 70s, and he said, I wanted to. This is back when he used to shoot a longbow and stuff, and he said, I wanted to hunt an elk. I said, well, how did you go about doing that? He goes, I got in the truck and I went to Colorado. And I go, well, did you plan for it? He goes, not really. He goes, I just took my arrows, my bow, and some cash. And he goes, but back then, Tony, things were different. He said, you'd meet up with some folks and they'd say, hey, you can stay at our house and hunt my land and do these things. And I've always had that exploratory side of me because of Jerry Dale. And even though that times have changed, like you've been saying, Ramsey, just go do it. Just go do it. Go do it, man. And don't focus on killing the animals.
Here's the here's one of the biggest myths in life is, we're conditioned to go to high school, get an education so we can get into college so we can get a job until we're old and things are paid for, and then go do something in retirement. No, because tomorrow ain't guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And your powers of enjoyment.
You only got today.
Yeah, and here's the deal. Here's a different way. The younger you are and the broker you are relative to where you're going to be when you're an old man, you know what? You got time.
Yes.
You got time, man. You've got more time right now.
Yes.
Your powers of enjoyment are greater right now today than they're going to be tomorrow or down the road.
That's right.
And I tell you, a man's legacy is not his bank account or his home or all that bullshit. It's what people remember you by.
That's right.
It's how you've inspired people to do something.
That's right.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, two of my proudest accomplishments, three of them be my kids, but my two sons, 27, 25 years old. And, I threw them in the truck with me when they were kids. We went to Mississippi. They went to Arkansas. They've been to countries. They've been to places, along the way. And my oldest son, now 27, I think they had senior day like 2 weeks before like graduation. Boom, the seniors get out. And maybe it was a week. But anyway, he and two or three of his buddies, 17 years old, three of them were, they get into his truck, and they drive to Kansas.
Mm.
And they got their tents, and they got everything. I hooked them up with a contact of mine, a buddy, that got them started. And for years, let me finish my story. They come wheeling back on fumes a few days later, took a shower, took a nap, went to graduation, having gone to Kansas and do-it-yourself turkey hunt. They're turkey hunters. And from that, my oldest son, he's a turkey hunting fool. And he's not just a fool about it, he's good at it. I don't know where he got it. He didn't get it from his daddy, I can tell you that. And that boy's now on a quest to do-it-yourself public land turkey hunt. And I think he's got about probably 15 or 20 states under his belt that he has just left his home, showed up, found some public land somewhere, pick a state, showed up, put in the time, put in the boot leather, and killed a turkey.
Mm.
He's killed the U.S. lamb. My other son, my Marine, my mini-me is 25, and went to the Marines, went to Hawaii, back home in the state of Mississippi, started an irrigation company. Well, he just gets a wild hair and says, me and a buddy from Oklahoma, one of his Marine buddies, we're going elk hunting. I go, where? He goes, he's pointed to a spot on the map in Colorado. I said, well, have you ever been there? He said, no. I said, what are you going to do? He says, we're going to drive up the mountain and start going out and finding them.
That's great.
Loaded up his truck, slept under the truck rather than bring a tent, brought a couple of sleeping bags to stay warm. He said one day his, what did he tell him? Something fresh. Pants froze so stiff he had to do something with them before he could put them on. And they shot an elk.
Wow. And
he said, come on, Daddy, y'all go with me. Well, after he told me how he said only two, I'm telling y'all, only two Marines could have done this. They packed that son of a gun down in one trip, both of them carrying 100-something pounds, walked 13 miles. I said, never in a million years is your daddy going to do that, son. I ain't going to even walk 13 miles, let alone with something on my back.
10-4 on that.
I'm a duck hunter, man. I stand in place and slog it quarter mile a lot of times, but I don't do that. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Here's some kids that just showed up to Colorado, bought a license, went up the mountain. He goes one way with a pair of binoculars. He goes the other. They find a herd, they hatch a plan to kill an elk to come home.
Wow.
Boom. It's doable.
Wow. Yeah, that's exactly right. You just got to get out and do it.
But see, there's two young men that got time. They got time to do that. They ain't got the money to go buy a $10,000 hunt on White Mountain, some outfitted hunt. So they just go and do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, just go do it, man.
And we live in one of the countries where you can do that. I mean, that's
we do, man.
That's
the best thing about it.
My big passion with these young folks is that they need this instant gratification, that kind of thing, and that's what we've been all about. Is just like, look, hunting is not like, yeah, if you have the dough, you want to pay for hunting, yeah, there's a lot of places you can dump your money and put yourself in a better position, but it costs money. But that's not what's there for the average guy.
It's what I learned 20-something years ago with getducks.com is I didn't realize, we all hear the phrase about time and money, and what I know through my business dealings with a lot of clients worldwide, and what I know through the transgression of my whole life is that, when you're young, you're typically time heavy. And when you're old, no matter what, you're time poor.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, just try. I tell you what, just try when you're 58 years old to get your 27-year-old son, your 25-year-old son, your 22-year-old daughter, and your wife all at the dinner table one time. We all got lives. It's hard to do.
I'm 52 and it's hard now.
It's hard to do. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody has time.
Yep.
And so, use your time well. Because what I see as you get older, when you start looking at, I've got a lot. I've been told for 20 years that we've got a lot of young clients for our industry, and because we got a lot of passionate duck hunters as clients. I've got clients in their 20s and 30s that stroke that check and go a lot of these trips worldwide, and because they're on a quest, they're on to get all the species or get all the experiences or whatever, compel somebody to do this stuff. It's subjective, but at the same time, two points I'm trying to make. One, there's a lot of parts of the world you can't do it yourself. You can't do it yourself in Mexico. There's too many laws down there about guns and about ammo and about hunting areas, and you can't really do it yourself in Argentina. There's a lot of, you can't go to Pakistan or Azerbaijan or Sweden and knock on doors and go duck hunt. You just can't. It just there's customs and laws and regulations galore. And so when you start dealing on that end of things, what you find is that a lot of my older clients, they've paid for their homes, their kids are out of college, they're a little more liquid than they were when they had a mortgage and had a car note and had all this stuff going on.
Sure.
But they still don't have time. They sure don't. A 70-something-year-old man ain't got time to waste on a bad hunt.
No.
And it could be the last 5 days he spends in a foreign country is this hunt. Right. He ain't got time to waste on a bad hunt. There's a lot of advertised bad hunts. They may not be bad relative to Mississippi, but they're bad relative to Argentina. And I don't mean not good, I mean bad. I talked to a guy this year. He booked a shitty hunt to start with through a shitty booking agent that ain't even a booking agent, but they went on this shitty hunt, and that guy, that shitty outfitter, had a guide that quit him, reached out to the client and offered him a cheaper deal.
Oh my God.
And so the guy calls me. He's in Argentina and I'm in Argentina, and we're sold out with happy clients. And they had been parked the truck, walked down the river, and shot ducks from the bank under a highway overpass. And they shot 6 ducks.
Oh my gosh.
And they go somewhere else and go somewhere else. And one day they had a good hunt, according to him. I followed up with him. But they were coming down the road and they got pulled over by the police. And after they paid a lot of money, not the outfitter, them, The police let them go.
Wow.
And they got a little bit further down the road and they got pulled over again.
Oh my gosh.
And those police cleaned them out completely. And I'm talking to him on the phone because I'm following up to make sure everything's okay and they didn't get in trouble or arrested or something. I mean, they're dealing with a nefarious criminal, if you can't tell. And I said, he said, man, if I ever get out of this country, I ain't never come. I said, dude, if you ever come back, do me a favor. Let me show you what real Argentina hunting's all about.
Yeah.
Pay the money and let me show you a real version, a good version, an absolute fairy tale version of Argentina. But, and I said, I couldn't help but say this because it's the truth. I said, did it ever occur to you? You didn't go through a roadblock and get stopped. Did it ever occur to you? A police just come out of nowhere and pulled y'all over out of all the cars coming up and down that highway, just pulled y'all over and shook you down for money. Did it ever occur to you that your outfitter was in on this? Your quote, outfitter, unquote. Did it ever occur to you that he was on the phone talking Spanish like I know he was? He goes, yeah, he was. I go, did it ever occur to you he was talking to the police saying, hey, pull me over. These guys still got money. He said, no, I never. I said, you can bet your ass that guy's in on it.
Absolutely. Wow. Wow. You know, not to change gears here, but, you know, something I wanted to bring up with you that I found just so enlightening lately was we had Brad Heidel on from Delta Waterfowl.
Oh, yeah, Brad.
Yeah. And he was telling us about their education program. And one thing that shocked my brain, Ramsey, was, and correct me if I'm wrong, but 60 something, or maybe it's even higher than that, but I think I'm being low by saying 60% of people that are getting into the waterfowl industry from the education level have never experienced waterfowl hunting at all.
All right. Well, I know a little bit about this. And several years ago, my best friend, who was my college professor my senior year, the late Ian Munn, when I went to grad school, he and I hit it off and started duck hunting together. And who the heck knew one duck hunt at a time for 30 years, you end up being best friends. Sure. He passed last year. And
sorry to hear that.
Oh, boy. But anyway, the best friends are hard to come by. I'm going to tell y'all.
Yes,
best
sir.
friends are real hard to come by.
They are. And just like your preacher tell you, you'll have a lot of distant friends, but you'll have a couple core ones.
Oh boy. But anyway, he was a forestry professor that in the years pursuant to me graduating and now took a job as associate dean of forestry and was in all the politics of the high education system there at Mississippi State University. And just one day in a duck blind, Ramsey, he says, how many people did you graduate with in 94? I said, and I know there were 58 of us, 58 foresters, wildlife, things that nature was in my class, you know. And he said, wow. He said, you know how many wildlife students we have now? See, at the time there was 58 of us. Most of us were forestry. Some of us, me included, were wildlife option. That's how I became a wildlife biologist. And he said, just in the wildlife program alone, not wildlife forestry option, but wildlife now, there's 365.
Wow.
That's what I said. I said, but here's the crazy part. Where the hell where are them 365 people going to get jobs?
Right. Exactly.
Okay?
That's what Brad was talking about.
Let alone 365 times however many hundreds of wildlife programs there are in the country. And so he said, well, what percent of y'all hunted or fished? I said, every one of them. Even the girls I knew. There were 3 girls in my class, and they may not grown up hunting and fishing like me and you and our listeners did, but they hunted and fished with boyfriends in college or with daddies or something. You know what I'm saying?
They were associated with it. Yeah.
They were exposed enough to the outside world that led them to a career in natural resource management.
Right.
And he said, what percent of the 365 at Mississippi State do you think now? I said, half. He shook his head. I go, more or less. And he goes, 10%. He said 90% of the youth in Mississippi State's wildlife program neither hunt nor fish. But it's kind of like I was talking to Joel Bryce about this a few years ago, also from Delta Waterfowl, about this program they've got. And he describes it, I think, very accurately as an Animal Planet generation. They grew up, they saw Animal Planet. Their mom and daddy didn't take them hunting and fishing. Nobody in their family took them hunting and fishing. They were removed from nature, but they caught a glimpse of it. Watching these documentaries and stuff on television, they fell in love with it, said, I want to make the world a better place, and I'm going to get into it. But that's all good and fine. Great. We need some bright and brilliant minds, and I personally don't care if you hunt or fish. But we talked about this earlier. Billions of dollars funding DNR, funding the university research, inadvertently or directly or indirectly funding Ducks Unlimited, Delta Waterfowl, university research, state and federal government programs. I mean, it's driving it. And, even in California, woke California, they have realized, wow, if we don't have hunters and fishermen, we don't have funding. If we don't have hunting and fishing funding, we ain't got jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So even California started coming out with this 3R. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're all kind of, and so where Delta Waterfowl very, very effectively, I should say, because Mississippi State University has them. They're going into these classrooms and Brian Davis, waterfowl ecologist here at Mississippi State University, he'll tell his kids, hey, extra credit, come show up Saturday and come take this workshop. And they'll it's voluntary. But these kids will show up, get extra credit for going through here's how you shoot a gun, here's what the decoys, here's a call, here's whatever they show. I haven't been to one yet, but I've wanted to go to one of these workshops. And then they'll give the opportunity for those that want to go sit in the duck blind. And what Joel and Brad and them boys were telling me is that, a lot of times, some of the kids that show up in the duck blind for that extra credit do not want to shoot a shotgun. They've never shot a gun. Maybe they're against shooting guns, or they're just uncomfortable or intimidated. But he said 100% of the time, the kids that sit there, he said 100% of them, whether they shoot a duck or not, he said you see it pop. You see this boom, this little flash, this little understanding, this little revelation happen when the calls come out, whack, 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 and the ducks start to work and they come in. And he said, me, no matter how many ducks I've shot, I get spellbound. I hold my breath every time that mallard pitches in. Oh, here he comes. That moment, you call, he's on the hook. Now you're quiet and you're watching, and the minute you see it, you know it as he's thinking it, like you're a mind reader, and he does it, boom. And you're sitting there spellbound watching this duck on locked wings come in and flap. Sometimes you forget to shoot. It happens so quick because you're so spellbound.
Yes.
And he said, you see it. And he said, and then you add the guns go off, and then that dog. Because who doesn't like a dog? What Animal Planet generation doesn't like a dog? Goes out and comes back and hands that duck to them. And they hold that duck. Hold that duck. And all of a sudden, ka-ching, they understand. They may not be hunters themselves. They may never fire a trigger. But in that moment, they understand, wow, this is what this is about.
Yes. And this couldn't be more surreal. So tonight, before we got on the podcast, my daughter came down, and she's not into hunting. Never has been, and that's fine. She understands why I do it, and she loves that, we love it and all that stuff. And we're sitting here, and I said, hey, have you heard about this? Did I tell you about this video? It's called The Mantle. And she said, no. And I said, well, it's folks that we met at Delta Waterfowl Expo, and they won a chin video contest, and I said it's about this old dog that they're basically his name's Goose, and he's handing over the torch to the new puppy, and this relationship between him and the hunter and stuff. And I said, will you watch it with me? She goes, is it going to show shooting ducks? I said, just only 2. And I said, and it's the 2 that this old dog made its last retrieve, and this new puppy made its first retrieve to pass off the torch. And she just looked at me, and she's like, just, beside herself that I'm sitting here with my dad. That's she doesn't see it the same way as I do. You know what I mean? And but for her, that was special. And she just said,
well, because it's relatable, man.
Yeah. And these younger people, we got to let them get into the sport however they get into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the little ones having a video game with them or whatever it is,
For the ones of those 300 and something that actually do the time, do the course, get a master's degree, shake out, get a job with a state or federal agency or NGO like Ducks Unlimited or Delta Waterfowl, it's important that they understand why me and you do this and the conservation value in dollars and cents and passion that it translates into to them as wildlife managers. And that's, like I got invited last fall. So September 23, I got invited to come to Mississippi State and do a seminar. And I said, okay, I'll do that. Come and talk for an hour to the student body, the wildlife student body and foresters. And then I got asked, well, since you're coming up here, why don't you come by and talk to my waterfowl ecology class? So I went by and talked to them. And, I would say that here I am in a crowded room with 35 or 40 people sampling. And first thing I asked was who hunts, and 2 of them raised their hand, 3 of them maybe raised their hand, and here they were sitting pouring over in lab, pouring over. They were in that part of the class where they have to do wings as a part of that wildlife class. I took it back all them years ago. You pour over all those duck wings to where you can age and sex. Because the test is going to be, here's 10 wings. Tell me the species and the age. And, so you got to do the sex, the species, the age of 10 random wings from birds around the United States. And none of them duck hunted, and it's like 3 of them did maybe. So it's crazy. And to see that kind of stuff, it's very important, and I'll tell you on the flip side of it, this is a rhetorical question almost, but why do we hunt? Why do we hunt? And like back in last year, I think it was last year, it may have been 22. I think it was 22. I got invited to be interviewed by a documentary. And I watched all 8 series of that. It's called Human Footprint.
Yes, it was incredible, Ramsey.
And but I'm gonna tell you, it was extremely daunting that I got asked first to meet with them, and then later, like a day before, to take them duck hunting. So I show up to Eastern Maryland. I'm going to hunt with my buddy Charlie, and I get invited. Hey, can you take these guys with you to duck hunt? I'm like, no. And I called Charlie. Charlie said, yeah. I said, okay. Charlie's like, dude, are you sure? I mean, these PBS guys. I said, I know, man. I don't know. I'm just. So, man, I deliberated. I had 10 hours, 12 hours maybe, 8 hours sleep, 7 hours sleep, and the rest to think about this. What am I going to do? I done met these boys. They ain't from around here. Mm-hmm. They're from California, but they ain't the Californians I know out there. They're PBS documentary Californians, right? One guy's a brilliant, smartest man I ever met. The host is the smartest man I ever met. He's a Princeton University, some kind of ecologist, And I show up, and And we meet, we talk, and we're going out there, and I'm pitching out homemade decoys, and I'm doing all this stuff, and we get in the blind, and I just dawned on me as we got in the blind, I'm like, where's your gun? He goes, I don't have a gun. I go, I'll go get you one. He goes, I don't hunt. And boy, the first question I was asked, we hunted for 3 hours, and it was an ongoing interview. And I was so glad that I stopped and got a big thermos of coffee with two shots of espresso in it. So, buddy, I was hitting on all 8 cylinders. And I felt like I was on the ropes the whole time. And the first question that I was asked was, why do you hunt? It's a question I think that all of us should have to dig deep and answer for ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, why do I hunt? Because somewhere along the way, I remember saying, well, you know, I love this. I've grown into it. And, you know, I feed my family. I feed my tradition. I feed my culture. Hell, I feed my spirit.
Yeah.
And you know, he said, to which he replied, well, I love wildlife too, but I don't shoot it. Man, and as we talked, you know, I you know, these guys were not anti-hunters necessarily, but they didn't hunt. And they're making this documentary that was way bigger than duck hunting, but it was so amazing. It was such a good, it was award-winning and all the awards.
Man.
And
oh my God! I watched
they've been funded for a second season. It was amazing.
I watched the other parts of it. It was just incredible.
I was trying to be careful because anytime you guys that know, you know, when you talk to media, when you talk to a reporter, and we see it in all that fake news all the time, they can make that, they can craft your words to be whatever they want it to be.
Yeah, they can.
And they were very friendly and very nice and respectful, but it was, you know, they weren't my people, right? And when we got done, I answered their questions. I spoke from the heart. I didn't back down. They weren't ugly at all about it. And when we got done, I was wrapping up my podcast equipment, and the producer said to me, he said, Ramsey, you know, I got something to tell you. I said, yeah. He says, we thought we knew where we stood with this topic, because they'd just gone and heard all about the nasty market hunting on Chesapeake Bay and everything else. That was a little how they started their secrets. They said, until we met with you.
Wow.
I said, yes, sir. He goes, and you know, I'm not saying I want to be a hunter, but I do want to go hunting and feel what you feel and articulated in this interview. That we all talked on the 4-wheeler ride, the buggy ride back to camp, and we said, you know, we need to do this.
Wow.
And so, you know, what I'm saying and bringing this topic up is each and every one of us as hunters, it's incumbent. It's our responsibility. You know, we enjoy a resource. We enjoy all the freedom to hunt it in the greatest country in the world to do so. But you know, it's incumbent on us to influence not just each other, the preacher preaching to the choir. It's incumbent on us to influence that 80% middle ground. However we can. We can do that through our behavior. We can do that by being courteous. We can do that by being legal. We can do that by being ethical. We can do that just by being respectful to each other.
Yes.
And to the people around us. And most importantly, being respectful to the resource itself.
Yep.
And that's how we do this. You know, we've got to, you know, this duck hunting thing may be worth $200 billion nationwide economically, but you know what? That ain't even a Fortune 500 company no more. That ain't even a federal government program no more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's really not a lot of money in the great scheme of things. And if you say we're putting all this time and all this money into conservation, but we're still losing habitat like never before, that's because we hunters, 900,000 duck hunters in America are not enough to turn the tide. We're not even enough to hold the fort.
Yes.
We've got to recruit this other 80% into the conservation narrative. And so it is incumbent on us.
That's what I loved about the whole Wings Over Water thing. was just a general
Putting it in the classroom.
Yes, put it in the classroom. Yes, yes. I mean, I would. It's, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. We have to be passionate about passing this on. We have to be passionate about educating people. We have to be good ambassadors of the sport. Like from the simple things, and I know you respect this because we've talked about before, but thing that my stepdad taught me years ago, and this old boy that hung with Fred Bear, he said, when you harvest an animal and you display that animal to anybody, you show it at its best. Show it at its best. So me and Tristan will be sitting there wiping blood off of ducks. We'll be, putting their bill back together, closing their mouth. We'll be doing all these things to show it in its most beautiful way possible.
Number one thing you can do, clean that blood off, but the number one thing you can do with a duck or a goose is keep that son of a gun dry.
Right?
They look a wet duck is ugly.
It is.
It makes lousy photos. Keep the bird dry. Keep them nice. Keep them clean. And then,
make
we've
a
all
point
got these
to make
iPhones in our pocket to take pictures, and show the world how respectful we are and how much we love this animal.
Yes. Yes, I totally agree with that. We always have this debate with a good buddy of ours out in Northeast Arkansas, and it's the belly up versus belly down pictures. And I get into it with him all the time because he's been raised all his life. You show him belly up, and I go, look, dude, I can't do it. I said, I've got a problem with it. I got to show him belly down. I need to pull that wing down. I need to show all that stuff. Just like we just got done hunting down there with those divers, and we had a killer. I hope you see the picture, Ramsey, but we had a double rainbow on a lesser scalp hunt. And Tristan said, Dad, hold that duck up in the air. And I said, what? And he goes, there's a rainbow that's going to be in the background of that duck. And he said, has anybody ever taken a bluebill in a rainbow? And I was like, holy cow, what a moment. And we held that thing up and gave it the praise that we needed to and stuff, just to show it off in the best way possible, But man, Ramsey, I don't want to keep you on here all night. You poor guy, you've been, you're about the busiest man I know, and I sure the heck appreciate you being on here tonight. And do a little dig here and tell everybody where they can get in contact with you. Why GetDucks.com is a very well respected name in the business.
Well, we've been in business, like I say, for 25 years. And my business is still a small business. I mean, it's by design. When you book a trip with us, my wife and I make ourselves personally available at all times before, during, and after that booking. Before, during, and after your hunt, administratively, she's available. Huntwise, field-wise, I'm available. We're here. We walk you through the whole process. And that's just, I think that more than anything else, just when people call, they talk to us, not to somebody.
Right.
People, look, I learned a long time ago, I'm aware when I've got clients traveling, going anywhere in the world. I'm aware. When I wake up in the morning, I'm aware that you're supposed to get on a flight tonight and go somewhere. That's part of my job. And so I know this, when you call me at 10 o'clock at night, it ain't never say you found the coldest beer in Atlanta airport. Your flight's been canceled. You've been delayed. Something's happened. And that's really, that's some of the most stressful stuff in my business is things beyond my control.
Yeah.
You show up and something throws out. You don't fly because the plane it happened to me this year. I'm flying to Argentina. Well, no, I'm sorry. We're going to fly in the morning. So I mean, it happens. Life happens. And as stressful it is on my wife and I, it's our chance to shine. We're good. We're not God. We can't wave a magic wand and make planes fly, but we can start sorting stuff. We can start working ahead of it. Okay. And that's just what we do. Y'all can find me, getducks.com, Instagram at Ramsey Russell, getducks.com on Facebook, Duck Season Somewhere podcast. My name and number is just practically everywhere. And I love to talk to duck hunters. It's all I do.
And
You know what I'm saying?
And I'll tell you what, you walk up to this man, I've personally witnessed it. He'll sit down, shake your hand.
Well, that's what I do. I love people. You know, one final topic is about I'm on my 5th season of traveling with a decoy. A few years ago, I was up somewhere hunting some geese, and I was sitting there eating breakfast and talking, and one of them kids, you know, them kids are, they kind of get that phone and boom, take those little ninja shots.
Yeah.
I go, what are you doing? He goes, man, Snapchat, we can't believe you're up here shooting Canada geese with us. I mean, my God, you're up here shooting geese with us. I go, dude, I didn't cut my teeth Canada goose hunting like y'all did. Y'all got, I mean, these kids are Canada goose killers. You hear me?
Yeah.
And it was kind of embarrassing, man. And you know, like that kid asked me to sign his cap. That happens sometimes. And I've just learned if somebody thinks enough of me to want me to sign something, I'm glad to do it. But the truth of the matter is, you know, all these trips I do, when I'm at a camp in Argentina with all these clients that make my world turn. If I'm in PEI hunt with Woody, if I'm in Central Alberta hunt with Jake, and if I'm in Texas hunting with those boys I told you about, man, I mean, you know, it's the most humbling and rewarding aspect of duck season somewhere is the regular people that invite me into their lives, into their homes, into their duck blinds, and they show me their version, their little nook, their little slice of the pie of this whole American duck hunting experience. And that is overwhelmingly rewarding, and it's humbling. And I had this idea, you know, I actually reached out to a company and said, hey, let me have one of your plastic decoys and I'm going to publicize it. And in exchange for a little gas money, right? And they're like, nah, I ain't interested in that. So I took an old foam decoy that I had this client that 20 years ago, I had this client that he was so funny at night that I'd wake up in the morning and my stomach hurt like I've been doing sit-ups. And I don't know if I've ever told this story on a podcast, but I'm going to tell it tonight. Mm-hmm. And he was so funny. Well, come to find out, he had one of them personalities that he was way over here funny as can be, or way over there and in a dark place. Mm. And you know, he started calling people. Like he called me up one day. Said, hey, I'm cleaning out my garage. You need any decoys? I got all these decoys. He gave me this big, humongous sack of big burlap wrapped decoys and a few foam decoys. And I didn't know he was kind of taken care of before he exited. Mm-hmm. And he got one of them dark places and he left us too soon. Mm. And you know, I gave those decoys after he left. I gave those decoys to everybody that knew him. I just started passing them out to folks because he signed the bottom of them. And so when that company said, nah, we don't really want to do that, I went and you know, I walked down I got this camp house, and up and down that hall, I got all these pictures. You better believe my old best friend, Mr. Ian's in a bunch of them, but so is this guy. So is a lot of people. It's amazing after a lifetime of duck hunting, not just my granddaddy or my daddy or family members, but friends, people that I shared, you know, and just take this client, for instance. I mean, life is tough, man. You know, life is tough, dude. It's just tough. And some people take another way out than just dying of old age, or, you know, or they tragically die at a young age. And when I walk up and down the hall and I look at these pictures, I look at a picture of this man, me and him tuna fishing one time, smiling and laughing and happy. And God, the stories that come out of that one day. And for it to end like it did, and it just occurred to me one day that I spent the happiest times of that man's life with him in a duck blind, you know, around the world. And then right, 2 pictures down is another friend of mine. God, we're sitting there in Uruguay with a duck season worth of dead birds at our feet. And he had a headache. He was in his 40s. He had his headache for a few days. He went to work. He come home to a brand new house that he built with his own 2 hands, you know, for his family. His wife said, "Baby, how you doing?" He said, "My head's about to kill me." Literally hit the floor and died in her arms right there.
Goodness gracious.
42 years old. Again, and I go to his funeral, and, you know, went to the wake, and the casket's open, you pay respects, and the line was way out the door and around the block, you know. And I walk in, and, man, I almost broke into tears when I saw those same pictures that are hanging in my little cabin, hanging and displayed right there. Happiest times of that man's life, some of them, I got to spend with him. Right there in the duck blind or on a creek bank or wherever we hunt. And so I had this idea that everywhere in the world I hunt, everybody I hunt with, I'm gonna get to sign decoy. And man, I fill it up. I'll get 400 or 500 signatures in a season, and when it's full up and the season's over, I hang it up in my game room. And every now and again, I take it down. I sit in my recliner at camp. I read those names, and I think about those places. You know, it's the best of times. It's a hell of a life. Hell of a life we're living. And that's kind of where, you know, this decoy thing came from. I travel with, and, you know, I'm humbled that so many people have picked up the tradition. You know, it's important to us to remember this stuff with pictures and signatures and names. You know, whether you hunt 300 times a year or 5, we all know that, you know, when you're a child, Christmas is coming. Here we are past Thanksgiving. My wife and daughter are going to set up a tree this week. Christmas is coming, and as a child, Santa Claus is coming, man. It's going to be awesome. But as an adult, we all know Santa Claus is a children's myth. You know, we work. And, you know, sometimes life is real hard. It's not just a barking dog and a yelling wife and an angry boss or whatever problems we all got to deal with, you know, that we didn't have to deal with when we were 8. We got to deal with this stuff. And you book this trip, or you plan this trip if you do it yourself, or you're going duck hunting with your kids, your buddies, or whatever. And here's the deal. You love it for what it is and what it ain't, because you're there, not back in this woke world with barking dogs and yelling bosses, right?
Right.
Love it and cherish it, and be happy to be with the people you're with. Because that's what truly matters most.
That's what you remember, man. That's what you remember. It's not the ducks you kill, the deer you kill, or anything like that.
It ain't.
It truly isn't. You know, we talk all the time, you know, we talk about all these stories of things that I've been through in my life. The things that come to mind are always the whether it's funny or serious or a tough story or whatever it is, has nothing to do at all with harvesting an animal.
I live a simple little life. You know, I don't have a regular home, a little camp house, and not even the dashboard of my truck do I have room to put another stuff down. And at the end of the day, though, Tony, when I sit there and I look at all those dead birds collecting dust, because, buddy, you better believe a dead duck feathers attract every dust particle in the universe. And, you know, the times I'm asked, man, what is that right there? What is this right here? What about that right there? The times I sit there by myself and just look at them, it ain't never about the birds. You know, well, that's a red-crested poacher. And, buddy, when people ask about that, I always talk about the country and the guide, this little guide I've got in Azerbaijan named Adil, who we can't even talk to each other. Even with Google Translate, you can't have a conversation with him, but we don't have to. We spend hours together shooting red-crested poachers and all these birds and all this stuff. push pulled him way off into this marsh, and I never will forget the first time we hunted together. He went down the little P row and he pulled out this little bitty, like a little school backpack. That's what they use as a blind bag. And he brought out this hot thermos of tea, and he fished it around, and he unfolded this cloth. He had this little ceramic coffee cup, little teacup, and man, it was cold. It was cold, and I'm sitting there thinking, man, I should have brought a thermos with some hot tea. And he poured this hot tea, and he handed it to me. And man, I put my cold fingers around that little hot ceramic cup, beautiful little cup. Poured that with that hot tea, and I'm sipping it. And he reached in his backpack and he brought out these cookies, and he handed them to me. And I'm sitting there eating cookies and drinking hot tea. And he made a motion for my phone, so I gave him my phone, and he typed one word. That's all Google Translator do with a Zeri. And just little short sentences. And he goes, "Sister, made for you."
Oh,
Dude, man, do you know that's special?
yeah. Oh,
We share these times with people. And so when somebody, but I can't look at that red-crested poacher, which was one of my absolute trophies of a lifetime. I cannot look at that bird without thinking about, I had never laid eyes on one in nature, and we were hunting, and we were 10 or 15 or 20 ducks into the morning, and I shot Eurasian widgeons and gadwalls and Eurasian green wings and a few tufted ducks. And the minute I laid eyes on those red-crested poachers, they were a quarter mile away working over a bay. And I just, because they're in the same family as a rosy-billed poacher, they look the same. I didn't see the orange round head. I saw the black body with they got white. Their secondaries all the way out into their primaries are white, real like a greater Scott, but brighter white. And when you see them bank, your mind goes boom, netta, genus, boom, net. And I got on that call, started growling to them.
Yeah.
And by God, I tripled. They come right into the decoy, bam, bam, bam. And from then and evermore, I never will know what the word red-crested poacher is in a Zeri, but because all a deal would do from then on is tug my coat and go make the growling sound, call them, and I'd call them, and that's what I remember, not the damn duck, the experience, man.
Yeah.
So anyway, man, we could talk for hours. You get me started, sir. Tony. We could talk for hours.
Yes, sir. Well, I would love.
Thank you very much.
No, I would love it, and every good thing comes to an end, and man. I hope to keep in contact with you throughout the rest of the season and follow your journey. And if y'all haven't followed Mr. Russell, please do.
Ramsey.
And yes, that's right. Your daddy was Mr. Russell. I apologize. But y'all need to find out where he's going to be. You need to go there and see him and shake his hand, because you're a gentleman of the sport. You're an ambassador of the sport. And, I know as humble as you are, if we didn't have folks like you out there doing what you do, the sport wouldn't be what it is today. Thank you, Ramsey.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. And one of my bucket list hunts to this day is still to join y'all in a duck blind somewhere, you and your son. I'd love to do it.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure we could talk for days and have a good time while we do it.
Well,
and thank everybody out there for listening. I know the podcast got long, but I appreciate y'all. I'd like to invite y'all to come to, if you're anywhere near Atlanta, come to Dallas Safari Club. We exhibit there. If you're anywhere near Nashville in late January, early February, come to Safari Club International, the largest hunting show on earth. And,
it's in Atlanta?
It's in Atlanta.
Well, I live here in Atlanta.
Dallas Safari Club in early January, it has had to move because of a convention rehab. In Dallas, they're moving to Atlanta for the next few years. I'll be there. Come see me.
Man, what is
Nashville, that? Don't get me lying. January 5th-ish, 7th-ish, somewhere in that time frame.
All right. Well, me and Tristan got to figure it out.
I think it's going to be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is what I'm thinking. Somewhere in that time frame.
Well, I'll text you. We'll figure it out because Yeah.
But there's Safari Club International in January, huge show, worth the drive. I do a seminar as chairman of the Game Bird of the World format. Man, come on, we want you, and come ask me anything. And then I go to Delta Waterfowl Expo, which will be in Oklahoma City, and DUX next August will be right there in Memphis, Tennessee. Those are two great shows. You walk into those two shows as a duck hunter, let me tell you what, you are among your people.
Yes.
Because every duck hunter on earth is going to be in those two shows right there.
Yes, sir.
So y'all come see me. Come see the shows. Come see me. I'd love to meet each and every one of you.
Well, thank you, Ramsey. You get some shut-eye, and safe travels, brother, and we will talk soon.
Thank you, Tony.
Yes, sir. Have a good night now.
I've been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on a midnight train. Going too fast now, think I'll slow down, standing in the pouring rain.